What is happening, everyone? We are back. Boom, baby. A little bit of technical difficulties with the microphone. However, this is what we got. Don't complain. Cannot fix it. Or maybe it will halfway through the show. We'll see. But I went from a yellow light to a green light. So there's progress. We're back this week. At the end of the week, took a break. No promises. May take some more breaks in the future. But I'm Squirrel wants a refund. You get your $0 back day after tomorrow, sir. 2 more weeks and we'll have that $0 check for you to be cash from the bank at Hexco. That's what I'm glad you brought it up. Everyone else also qualifies, maybe, perhaps. Anyways, got a great one for you today. We're going to talk about rocket ships, moons. We're going to talk about the lack thereof, PulseChain HEX, and pretty cool stuff. So anyways, without further ado, welcome back to the show. Neil for T-Shares, Crispy Man, and Axis Live. How's it going, gents?
What's going on?
You know.
We are live. We're doing it live. We're doing it live, gents. We're doing it live.
That's right. How you been? How was your time touching grass, my dude?
I mean, I try to touch grass every day. However, sometimes longer than others.
That's right.
And pretty good.
Maybe it was a sandy beach this time, you know?
Sandy Beach. Shout out to Sandy Beach, by the way. Shout out to Sandy Beach in chat. It was, there was some beaches involved, actually. Yeah, some water. A little bit of break. Just not too far away, but yeah, had a good time. And stayed off Twitter for the most part. Just a couple retweets here and there.
Hey, do you know what I got to say on that Twitter thing? Like, hey, it's getting a little better. I don't know if you guys noticed, but your feeds should be getting a little bit better lately. They are for me, anyways. That black button is like a miracle sometimes.
You've taken steps. You've taken measures to help. Okay.
I spent the first 4 years in this community and not hitting the black button, and then one thing leads to the next. And I mean, nowadays, like, I'm loving X. Like the last few weeks, it's been amazing.
I'm loving X. That sounds like a T-shirt. I'm loving Hex. I'm loving X. I'm loving it. It was the original one. That's the reference.
Speaking of Hex, the price action's been looking pretty good lately.
Yeah. Is that something you'd like to talk further about?
Well, I wouldn't have brought Crispy on if I wasn't going to talk about Hex. Come on,
Crispy in the house.
What?
All right.
I was watching Crispy's T-share video today. It was pretty compelling. I think people are totally missing the boat on that long-term commitments, and the short-term stuff does set you up to be able to go longer if you use that lock and roll strategy. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Lock and roll. That's right. I'm supposed to be calling it lock and roll, man. I keep calling it stake and roll, but yeah, lock and roll. You know, everybody probably hasn't been watching my streams, but the real short story is I've concluded that the only stake for me in Hex is Quattro Cinco. And the only exception to that is if I want more Hex to stake Quattro Cinco, I need shorter stakes to create more Hex for me. If I want more from my ladder. Now, that's because I have a pretty mature strategy already. I already have my ladder. Right, I'm not brand new, been around for a while. I have the Hex and everything. I'm not telling everybody else to do Quattro Cinco, but what a huge opportunity there is at this point with Hex, and in terms of just how hard staking has been faded the last 2 or 3 years, and now it's coming to a head this year. And I went through the numbers. I won't get them exactly right, but we saw a drop in future T-shares in 2036 to 37, something like 50%, and then from 37 to 38, another 80%. And then 38 to 39, a number 50%. So we're looking at right now in 2039 only about 25,000 T-shares, right at the moment. Maybe we'll close out 2039 with that, right? Now, why is this such a big deal? Why does this signify opportunity for those who are long-minded? Hey, listen, if you're here for this cycle, this isn't a discussion for you. But if you're here for multi-cycle, you plan to be around for 15 years, then it's good to know this, because what's happened is this. Based on past staking performance, we kind of just look at what the trend was. I would guess that we'd have 3-4 million T-shares in 15 years. But based on the actual performance over the last year, 6 months a year, it looks like maybe we'll have 300,000. And that's a tenfold difference in T-shares. And so what is the reaction? The reaction is that the APY is going up. So, and the APY will go up on both the hexes and both chains until people wake up to it. And then they'll decide. I don't know if that's this month or it's a year from now or 2 years from now, but all of a sudden they'll figure it out. And then boom, that opportunity will close up again. But in the meantime, people who do mine and do stake, they're getting their T-shares at a much lower rate, and presumably at the lowest price they could ever get them at.
Yeah, you keep making that comment about how 2,500 T-shares in 2039 makes you Poseidon.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Poseidon or Whale?
Poseidon at the moment.
Wow.
2,500, dude. Now, of course, listen, we're talking about it's a guess of what it could be, and it's assuming you don't get a bunch of people to come in. But listen, I get a fudder on here talking to me, somebody who's like negative against it. They're telling me this is the best it's ever going to get. Okay, well, let's go with that. 2,500 makes you Poseidon.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty nuts, man.
Unfathomable position, especially in positions like HEX and Pulse and stuff. Wow.
Yeah, I think we need to pull the pin to, on the whole efforts. When people hear certain things, they're like if I told you got to come up with $1 million to be successful, you'd be like, "Oh man, I have $1 million. F this, right?" But so we talk about the big numbers out there. To be like a dolphin, it's 3 T-shares. So and what's 3 T-shares? $170. So people who are paying attention now that want to gain a position, they could be loading up in the future for very little. And I use Dolphin as an example because Dolphin was very successful in the last run up. So anyways, but a lot of people aren't interested in all that stuff, but it's going. And I guess what I'd tell you guys is give you a surprise. What do you think right now the spread is on ROI, or excuse me, on APY between PulseChain and HEX or Ethereum, between the two? What do you think the spread is? So if I'm looking at the average percentage per each stake is earning.
What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, make a guess. Say
10%.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting close. So we and it's funny, Axis. We were talking about this. Remember, I told you that when you can't see the stats, weird stuff happens, and it can be negative or bullish, right? HEX daily stats just came back up. It's been down for a little bit over a month. It's been down because of the API problems on the EHEX side. The average percentage that you earn, and this of course is a high level number, as the spread is now 6%. So you're earning on PulseChain, on
6%
average
less.
No, 37. Yeah, on PulseChain it's 37%, but on EHEX it's now 43%.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I'm telling you is that's a whole nother dimension of this argument or discussion. Is at what point? Right now, I go, well, that's not that much. EHEX is, I'm worried about it. I don't know what's going to happen. But at what point does somebody go, I can make 10%, like Neil said, more? Is that the number that makes me, go for it? Or is it 20%? Is it 30%? Same thing with just overall staking. At what point do I say I feel like HEX staking would be better for me than farming? For me, it'd probably be whatever the value is of the farm. So if I'm farming, and what are we running for APY now on like the stables over there?
About 60% on USDC and DAI, and then it's 60% for USDT as well. So yeah, that's pretty high.
Versus what, 30% on the ink, right? Something like that.
It's like 30 to 35% on
34, yeah. That's right.
So I think you see if you see shorter term staking start getting up into the 20-30% range, it's going to be, or those other numbers come down, you'll start seeing some movement over into HEX, I think.
Wasn't that the original premise, right? When I understood Richard first discussed it, he's like, look, if fewer people are staking, the higher the APY goes. That was the incentivization to bring people back into the staking pools. So it's just doing what it was designed to do originally.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's working flawlessly. It does exactly what it does. My I do this weekly stream, where I try to do it weekly, anyways. Pretty boring, but it's the same thing every week, right? We go look at all those numbers. They go up and to the right. They change a little bit, but the contract works the way it's supposed to work, and it's doing exactly like you said what it is. More people FUD the staking of HEX, the higher the APY. That's just how it works.
Well, that's just all it's all about. DeFi, you're chasing the highest APY or APR. You want the best bang for your buck. So you're going to go where your money's treated best. So if you're going to be farming, you're going to be staking HEX, you're going to be doing whatever's available out there. That's what people will chase, I hope. I did some research recently on DeFi Llama, just going through, seeing what the yields were available on reputable projects like Lido, Rocket Pool, stuff like that. And frankly, it's abysmal. 3%, 4%, 5%. I'm like, why are people not on PulseChain getting like 30, 40, 50%, just even PulseX farms? I mean, it's ridiculous. They're missing out on this opportunity. I just really wonder.
Were those numbers representative of what they were like before that whole crash on ETH a week and a half ago? Like, I remember looking through like Morpho, Blue, Spark, Lend, and some other platforms on ETH side, and some of those LTV loops were paying like anywhere from like the mid to low 20s, as high as like 40 to 8%, and then in one case it was actually 86% on one of those loops. But in terms of Rocket Pool, I don't know.
Yeah, some of those might have like some caveats, and then it depends what you're looking for.
Well, it's all dropped though since the crash. Is my point.
Oh yeah,
it all came down to like 5%, 10%, maybe at max.
Yeah, those were unsustainable thing. Just like anything with any type of a pool, like you see some of these pools on with Uniswap and stuff like that, they may pay 100, 200%. It's like any other incentivized pool that's to get people to come over. And even Convex has some pools that pay 50 to 60% too, but there's only a few of them. And where tokens, I'm not quite sure. I'm not even familiar with, but things that are stable like Lido and Rocket Pool and these type of finance tools, MakerDAO and all that, they're still only 6% as well. So we're doing way better than a lot of these so-called established blue chip companies on Ethereum with APY and APR on what we have on PulseChain.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think that there's definitely some things magical that was just said between the two of you. One of them that comes to mind, some like hardcore truth and alpha, is that the ink farm, once the ink farm and the short-term HEX staking is somewhat competitive with each other, what would bring that about would be like ink prices decline or a HEX prices appreciation outpaces ink's price. Or HEX or they both go up, but HEX goes up at a faster clip. Once you start seeing these like less than 1 year stakes on HEX or the rolling APY from the ink pairs and the ink in the PulseX farms start to kind of meet at the same level of APR, it's going to be very interesting to see how the market reacts to that and which one they shift their economic energy toward. And part of my thinking here is, the short term gain of being in farms and having that flexibility. I think that is a privilege right now, and inevitably, as it becomes more popular, the yields will come down, and all we'll be left with is the HEX staking. And as the bull run continues on, I believe that it'll push all of the yield that you're seeing in the system is all going to end up pushed out long on HEX. Basically, that's where your best yield will end up being, and when this is all said and done, and we're looking back 5, 6, 7 years from now.
Yeah, just flipping through a couple different options with the farms versus staking and stuff too. I know everyone has different numbers they're looking at and time horizons, everything else. But every time I look at staking and I look at the amount of T-shares and all that stuff too. Again, if you believe price is going to go up, if you believe, all these things, it's like, man, as Crispy and X, everyone's talked about. Ooh,
well, look at how high the APY is now on the Quattro Cinco that you have on the screen, assuming all the numbers are correct, right? That's like 5-6 points higher than the low for Quattro Cinco staking. We, it wasn't too long ago when I was talking to people, it was like 22-23%. And that's the direct reflection of what's happening out there. Now, one of the reasons, of course, I like to talk about this stuff, and this is a HEX program, this one, right? So I can talk more about HEX than normal. But yeah, one of the reasons I'm excited about it is not so much I want to see it and prove it, and be right. It's more about letting people know that now is the opportunity period. So you can go take action, right? I mean, it's going to, regardless, it's going to come and go, right? And then in the bigger scope of things, when Axe is talking about farming and whatnot, remember, we don't control the farms. They can be changed. I can tell you for certain in 5 years that I can stake HEX because nobody's changing them. right? Maybe the numbers will change a little bit. I can't tell you for certain that any of my farm pools will be there, because you know what? I've already been in farms that are going away. You know, and they're going to change. And why did they change? Because that's more of marketing for the chain. Of course, it's going to change. The expectation you would have different new farms. So I can't guarantee that I'll get 30% forever. Well, probably on ink, I can guarantee I'll have a place to put ink, but I can't guarantee that everything that's up there now will always be there.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be diversified in your DeFi yield portfolio. That's the thing. You got to really look at the big pictures, like HEX versus the farms versus maybe even like 2FUC staking and stuff like that. All those things pay pretty good right now, and you need to be thinking about that, where you can put your assets, because you're missing out if you're just trying to be either a maxi in one thing or the other.
But zoom out for a minute too, and I want to come back to TA and got some other questions here as well. But I really want to cover the macro side and kind of, I think it's a good question too from Iron Freedom. Can Pulse still pump if ETH is stagnant this entire bull run? That question, a few other ones, of course, on the mind of various people in the community as well. And just looking at, I think survive till 2025, like that's become looking more interesting right now too. But what are y'all looking forward to this year? Again, I just want to zoom out for a minute, and we'll come back to the TA and otherwise. But like this year, 2025, as of today, not seeing what we know now with the ETH, ETF, and otherwise, what does it look like? What does the markets feel like? And what are people waiting on? Whoever wants to jump in.
I think it's the election, personally. I think November 5th will decide the world market's reaction. And then after that, whatever happens in the election, the world market will then make a decision. Because as it stands now, I don't know how much more inflation, the U.S. can take, and then what kind of policies will come out if we continue this current administration economically is it going to spur more growth or not? If it's not, then I don't see the market being very favorable worldwide. Even though you have ETFs and stuff like that, as we look at it right now with the Ethereum and the Bitcoin ETFs, the prices aren't that great. I mean, Bitcoin's only up a double from what it was a year ago, and Ethereum's only up $1,000 what it was a year ago. So it's not really doing much because the economy's stagnated. Now, when they drop interest rates and stuff, then we may see some growth in the economy, and then maybe people have some more capital to deploy. But retail's not going to come in until they have some more money in their pockets, because they're spending too much money on groceries right now.
What do you think, Chris?
I'm kind of thinking about it. So I think bigger picture for me, I'm waiting for time to pass. So I'm more of a cycle hodl, kind of thinking. And so I'm watching the 4-year cycle. I'm watching it progress. It looks like it's on track. And I don't know about all the different things that might happen. Of course, the election is always present, right? So, yeah, I'm just looking for the continuation of that cycle pattern to see what it finally looks like. And then there's a whole bunch of things below that I'm interested in, like, I know what's going to happen, like Neil's saying. I want to know what happens with the ETF, because that's kind of a wild card. The both ETFs now are kind of wild cards. And did they change the fundamental structure a little bit? Ultimately, I think I'm waiting for Wall Street to show their hand a little bit about how they plan to try to take the money from the rest of the people that come in later.
Yep. And let's not forget that the Fed is going to cut rates sometime before the end of the year. And that should have some sort of an impact on the markets. Typically, when the Fed cuts rates, you see a short-term drawdown in equities. Up until about a week ago, crypto was tracking equities pretty well. They were highly correlated until now, when under the pressure of all the final stages of the GOX coins getting released on BTC and this whole jump trading, dumping all that Ethereum. It's kind of set up a situation where we're seeing the first divergence between, the crypto market and equities. And then that's going into this unknown of like, how much is the Fed going to cut rates? I think I've made a pretty good case on the last few videos and streams I've done, which you can go find out more about on my Twitter or X account. It's all on there on a post. I just posted it yesterday if you want to go watch that stuff for a detailed analysis. But I think, this all leads into a small cut in rates, but generally we're just going to see rate stabilization with minor cuts and adds over the next, 10 to 24 months. And in this type of environment, it's an environment where gold's making all-time highs, equities is making all-time highs, crypto's making all-time highs. Everything's just going to go up in price. The administration that gets put in here in the States, in both cases, the market remains bullish, but in each case, the timing is different about when things occur.
Yeah, I concur with that because Wall Street trumps politicians. So, in terms of money, they didn't buy all this crypto in order to not get a return on it. They bought all because they're as simple-minded maybe as some of the rest of us, right? 4-year cycle, buy the Bitcoin, buy the ETH. When it gets to the top, sell on everybody's head, right? That's the plan. So and about that time, about when the selling's going on, besides observing it, is when you suddenly hear about how Bitcoin is going to $1 million. We get up to 150K, and all of a sudden, no, it's going to $1 million, guys. It's going to $1 million. ETH's going to 50K. That's when they're selling, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin to $1 million. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, about a month or two before every peak, you start.
It's always like
things, yeah.
Always like CNBC. It's always got like Tom Lee or somebody on there who's like Bitcoin to $1 million soon, or there's always like the big prediction.
As soon as Kramer's like Bitcoin's a buy, I see another 3x in this.
I want to say one thing before I retire. Bitcoin is a buy, and then it's like, oh no, oh no. This tweet got a lot of attention too. One from Richard the other day, a few days ago, talking about Bitcoin, ETH. You can read into it, talking about HEX or Pulse here too. I like the word. Every once in a while there's a new word that comes about, suckitude. I'm not sure about suckitude, actually. Suckitude, if I'm catching that correctly. Pretty cool. Pretty cool word there as well. Germany dumped billions, stocks released billions, numerous bankruptcies, hundreds of millions of legal fees dumped, dispersed billions, caused a lot of tax expense, otherwise what happened. Was there like $1 billion liquidated the other day? Was that last week when the thing happened?
Yep.
Never seen something like that. It was just, the
Are you talking about the stock market seeing trillions erased in a day? Or are you talking about crypto losing like billions of dollars was liquidated in crypto? They both happened.
I think I saw the tweet was like $1 billion liquidating in crypto. Yeah. So check correct me if I'm wrong as well. Reference.
Yeah, it was more than $1 billion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So all that work quality advances, peak finish. It's a price aren't giving cost of it all highs. 4-year cycle case. It's like we're still talking about the 4-year cycle. Is there anything again that I'm just trying to channel the questions from the community at this point too? It's like, okay, waiting is one thing. Is the cycle going to play out the way it has before? Everyone's nervous about that. Is it going to be different in a good way or different in a bad way? Is there anything from this that struck you all as like, wow, that's an interesting point, or made you think differently about anything?
I think what jumped out at me when I read this the first time is the volatility mentioned. So yeah, I guess it depends how you're interpreting what he's talking about. But when he says you see a lot of people quite upset, including me, the prices aren't giving the constant dopamine hit of all time. Yeah, of course, right? That we're all feeling that, right? And so I think what we're seeing in the 4-year cycle, potentially, I took it this way when we wrote it, is that maybe we're not going to see quite the volatility in Bitcoin and Ethereum as you would have been before. But I think the underlying messages within HEX and PulseChain, we still have that opportunity for the volatility, where you can get very very cheap units and they go to be very high units. And one way to point at that is when you look at, because you hear some of the people, and Axis, maybe you can shed better light on this. When people start talking about like this drop we just had in Bitcoin, yeah, it was a shock. I didn't like the price going down, affect the market. But would it go down 30%? I mean, that isn't a lot compared to what happened in previous cycles, right? So it's not even. So then you have some people like, oh, the big one's coming. Well, maybe it's not coming.
Since 2008, the big one. Well, since the .com bubble, right? The drawdowns keep getting shorter because in 08 we instituted quantitative easing and the Fed's commitment to not letting things go to hell in a handbasket. So you're just not going to get the kind of drawdowns that people want to see. I mean, the market is just completely evolved. Like they're willing to debase the currency and let inflation happen at any expense to make sure that the rich stay richer and the system continues. Because if the system falls apart, everyone's effed. Yep. So they're backed into a corner. They have all these government bonds that are out there in the world, and they owe debt. They owe a lot of money on that. Well, they're going to have to get the money from somewhere. It's not, the tax base isn't enough to cover that bill. I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars, so they have to print it out of thin air. I think we're less than a decade away from some radical changes from the Federal Reserve, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a complete changeover away from the Federal Reserve System into something else that's based on a note that's issued from the U.S. Treasury instead. Or crypto
USDC
could just take over.
Stable coins. I mean, it was like, all right, let's just everything. We like stable coins now. Stable coins are good, and then yield stable coins. Banks have stable coins. You open Wells Fargo app or whatever, and it's like, oh, stake your USDC, all that stuff. I should have thought about that. Not too crazy of a thing that could happen as well. But
in regards to the whole Bitcoin crash thing and whatnot. Maybe you want to pull this up and I'll just show you kind of it. This is, run of the mill Bitcoin price action from past cycles. Like this is just a replay of 2019 all over again. I think some of the smartest minds in the space have seen this parallel, but this period here from back in 2019 and 2020 is exactly what we're going through now. We're just going through it from up here at the highs. So we front ran all that with the ETF money. The greatest ETF product launch in history, mind you. So that's what got Bitcoin all the way up here at the highs this time early. But so we're just repeating this action, but from a higher point relative to the past cycle. So, by the your max drawdown here is like, this is all positive, by the way. You buy these dips, you don't think, if you think a bear market's coming here or something, like, okay, great, buy more. Like, if you can't buy more, get to work. That's basically what this is at this point. BlackRock's not selling here. Fidelity's not selling here. ARK Invest isn't selling here. Who's going to sell? The only guys selling and putting pressure on the price right now are guys that were locked out of their Bitcoin for 14 years. From however many years it's been since Mount Gox failed, and the pressure from ETH recently, but Germany dumping 50,000 BTC, the U.S. government getting their hat in the ring, dumping BTC. But those guys, the thing about these systems that are limited in supply is eventually the sell pressure runs out. But the difference is now we have the backup firepower of ETF money coming in. So it's just, basically you have until end of the year to either, into early next year at worst case before Bitcoin's making new highs.
Just to jump back here real quick too, I think this is the quote that maybe a lot of people had a reaction to as well. Maybe those times are just around the corner for the 4-year cycle case, constant dopamine hits, all that stuff too. Did that strike you all as anything? Was that a prediction? Was that, just sort of like hoping? Was that, just hearing that, is that kind of, does that make sense as far as where we're at today?
Yep, sure does. I mean, it's something that we're all obviously anticipating. Maybe not, it's hard to predict exactly when it's going to, come with in this year, like Axel said, or first of next year, whatever it works out in time, and governments and elections and the market, the Fed and all that stuff plays a role. But when the rich people are ready to make more money and they realize that their fiat dollars are worth less and less, they're going to print more, and they're going to gather more through these tools. So whether it's the stock market or Bitcoin, ETFs, whatever, they're not going to lose their money. So
exciting times. I know, I don't know. Access said crypto Twitter's been a little bit better lately, but I don't know. He also said that you've been utilizing the block button a little bit more. So I'm not sure if that's overall sentiment improving or just the tools at the disposal getting deployed.
Well, I'll tell you what, I make a tweet about HEX and the engagement is like 7x what if I just talk about like if I say something about a macro event or I'm charting Bitcoin or ETH or whatever XYZ thing. None of that gets nearly the traction. You're talking like 2,000 to 8,000 impressions versus if I do a HEX thing, it could be 9,000 to like 30,000 impressions. It's amazing how alive and well the HEX community really is even now. So, and in regards to this, before I forget, Richard is kind of saying like it's coming, like this, 6 months or less, this is coming. That's my read on it anyway.
Yeah. Well, without him saying or insinuating he's going to do anything, this is a 4-year cycle, right? 2020, we all felt much the same. We're kind of like at this point, DeFi summer was going on, right? But I mean, this is how it kind of feels like. If you're new, you're like, I don't know that anything's ever going to happen with crypto. But if you've been doing it for 3 cycles, you're like, yeah, this is what happens. Things kind of flatten out, they go sideways, and then it goes up, and we have a bang on, blowout year, right? And so that's how I take it, is just more because I have to use the same thing to keep my own spirits up in my head. Like, so where are we and what's going on? Here we are. This is a 4-year cycle. This is kind of like expected sideways up volatility type action,
It's opportunity.
I was just going to ask, when you think about it too, is that 4-year cycle, all that stuff, again, PulseChain is on the mind of a lot of people, HEX as well, all the core coins and community coins and everything else. It's just 4-year cycles. Do we need anything else? Do we have everything set up on the network? I think we've been primed for a while as far as builders and devs and everything's sitting there, the liquidity, the bridge, all this stuff too, all the onboarding, that only gets better, it seems like, by the day or month or otherwise. PulseChain ecosystem, PulseChain, core coins, all that stuff too. Is that, does anything change there? Are we still looking at, hey, ETH go up, Bitcoin go up, all alts go way up, the leverage kind of scenario that we all are thinking, again, going in 2025, it sounds like?
Well, right now, PulseChain is gaining on Ethereum. It's marginal, so it's not like crazy numbers, but since the 27th of May, PulseChain's up 12.15% in 80 days over ETH, in ETH terms. And if you want to see a layer 1 be successful, it could literally just do that every 80 days for the next 2.5 years, and that would be a success. And then somewhere along that trajectory, Pulse is going to decouple and just go crazy because the opportunity will be there when the time is right. Now, if you get ETH over the all-time high and it just doesn't have to be a lot, just like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and then you see a $200 million drop onto the PulseChain bridge, it's going to have some follow through, man. Like, people are going to want a piece of that action.
Mm-hmm.
That tweet just popped in my mind. Seeing a $200 million USDC has just crossed the bridge. Whoa. That would be that'd be fun to see. Wow, that would invigorate the community for sure. That would be, and then all of a sudden you start seeing Richard do all these very interesting tweets, and then all of a sudden engagement just flies off the handle, and then all these other things happen. That would be fun to see.
All you have to do is when you go to bed tonight, Max, you just lay in bed and you close your pretty little eyes, and then you just start seeing that happening. You could taste the pixels on the screen, and you could see the bridge numbers, and they're going up digit by digit by digit, and then they're going up by tens of digits, and then hundreds of digits. Pretty soon there's 100 million, 500 million, a billion. And just visualize it for me, because if you could visualize it for me when you go to sleep tonight, you're going to manifest it for us, my dude.
Tastes like dreams come true. I do think so.
Yep. No pressure at all, Max.
No, I mean, hey, I've already did the visualization. Actually, I've got this video produced a while back. Let's see. I don't. Let's see. Maybe it's in highlights. I'll just post the tweet because I don't have sound on here. But this was a. Let's see. One sec. Oh, please let me have it on here somewhere. It was basically, what if, instead of looking at the bridge today and it's got 80 million, it had, $500 million on it. Did this whole really cool visualization deal that I've shared a couple times. Why am I not finding it? I will find it in a moment.
It is kind of funny how a lot of us think we get kind of biased, right? By these numbers, like we assume because the prices went down that they're not going to come back up. Yeah, you can find things that obviously have done 5-10x,
Mm-hmm.
This one. Everyone, please take a look at that. We'll watch it. It's got subtitles, so we'll watch it without without sound just for a minute. But I think just look at the numbers on the screen, and when it gets to down, I think it'll be pretty interesting. This was, I think, last year, but every once in a while I'll post it. Ooh, look at that Lambo. Color Lambo you get, Neil. You going green or orange? It's only two colors that come in, I think.
Yeah, well, I'll probably just get a work truck or something myself. I'm not a sports car guy.
Cybertruck, I like it.
Yeah,
I heard they have a built-in air compressor. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
See, so what's the liquidity change? 1.4 bill. Look at that.
Speaking of, as you're doing that,
good job with that.
It'd be cool to look and if you want to pull up that Dune Analytics page, that kind of shows, let's see what the bridge has been up to lately, or like, how are we looking on that? Like, are we seeing inflows? Are we flat? Are we losing value?
Yep. I got a couple different bridge pages.
It'd be interesting to do that and cost adjust the token. Stable is going to be the right prices, but dollar value may have come down, but some cases units increased.
Mm-hmm.
Also got this one. Is this one Access? Did you share this one with me before? Was that Crypto.com? Somebody did before. I thought this was an interesting one too on Arkham Intelligence.
I haven't seen that one before, but that's super cool. I love Arkham Intelligence. I don't use it enough. I'm going to start using it now. That's good. I didn't know that they had that on there.
Yeah, it's nice.
Because normally I have to use this this website. It's a Dune Analytics page made by this guy named Water. But I'm going to make a tweet right now, and then you can post it. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. So if you remove everything except ETH and stable coins from that, it'll give you an idea. Right there on the right there on that chart, you can hit all. And now just turn on ETH and stables. They're at the bottom. I'm about to tweet this out while you guys are doing this.
Okay.
And so what I was getting at with my comment is this in dollar value? This chart? Must be, right? Yeah, in dollars.
Yeah.
And so, so do we have more ETH, or is it just that the value of the ETH went down?
Well, just overall bridge value between those two baskets is 160 million, and that's all that I care about. Mm-hmm. I'm not so concerned about the units or anything like that. In this case, I'm just strictly looking at how much value do we have bridged in, and it's 160 million.
Right now. Yeah.
Assuming these data sources are true.
Yeah. And my point about that is that the ETH price might have moved down 20%, which it might account for a whole bunch of that.
I'm sorry, I was wrong. 75 million. 75 million with WETH and stables, not 160. Which is still a pretty good ratio of RH coins market cap to bridged in value. It's better than almost any chain. This will end up being the most liquid chain because it had the copy. It got everything copied from Ethereum. So you came preloaded with liquidity.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot better than Solana. I can tell you that right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, just looking for questions here as well. No, Neil Neil, if you want to do the demo before we get back and we'll jump back into TA in a minute.
Sure.
Unless we got anything else on the liquidity. But super interesting. I'm glad we brought it up to take a look at it too.
Okay. I'll share my
more in
screen here.
Okay.
And see what happens here. Let's see here.
Quick question from RH Crypto Jeff. Thoughts on HEX stakes through Maximus perpetuals? You guys got any anecdotes on that before we?
Huge opportunity today with DESI price went down about 13%, I believe. We kept rebounded a little bit, but DESI's been selling at a discount to HEX for a while. You have to be careful with the slippage, but there's some opportunity there to earn some pretty good HEX yield. My personal view on it is if I buy DESI, I'm willing to hold it to the end. It's not necessarily for trading, but other people are trading it.
Cool. You got it, Max? All right, good. All right, now this is a video I did. There's no sound. I'm just going to I did a video because I'm trying to hide the UI and stuff. This is our DevNet of our True DeFi's True 2X tools. I know it says P2X, but we've changed the name since then. I'll play this and kind of talk through it real quick. So this is our DevNet landing page. It'll be updated here when we get the new UI on the mainnet, which is in a couple weeks we'll have it, or maybe less than that, on mainnet for testing, so people can participate and stuff like that. But we have the auction house and the miner page are the two things that people will interact with. Here we have the auction house dashboard where people come in, and the premise of True 2X is you come in, you deposit your pulse, and over time it will double through DeFi mechanisms and participation within the system. So you have an auction lobby here, and you can enter the lobby, deposit your pulse, and you get what you call shares or P2X shares, which represents your ownership of the pool. And you can put in, I think the minimum is like 50,000 pulse per thing, enter the lobby, and you can interact with the contract, and then boom, you have your pulse deposited, and then on the later on down on the screen, you can see the tables show you what you have active, so people can interact with it. And like this is what I just did, so it's not available. But the next day's thing here, as you can see, you can show that, hey, I have the next day my P2X shares I have purchased are eligible to be mined, start mining Pulse. And you can set up to 20 miners per auction card you can have. And so here I did like a 5 miner for an example, and people can then mine their Pulse from the pool, and they can set it up, and they'll start receiving their Pulse the following day after the miner started, and they can participate that way. So this UI here just shows these things. And then once the let's see here, now we're in the Pulse miner page here. So once you have a Pulse miner started, then you can go ahead and start mining your Pulse. So when it's available, there's a referral bonus option that we'll have, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. That people can get referral bonuses through referral links that we will have available, not just individuals, but we will also have some available for protocols as well. And within this, there's different ways to do it. You have addresses you can send your Pulse yield to, and the Pulse miners, then they will mine the Pulse up until you get a 2x. And once you hit a 2x, you're out. So all you can earn is a 2x on your Pulse. And the time frame to earn 2x is dependent upon the overall health of the chain, user participation, and a lot of different factors. So nothing we can guarantee or say, hey, you will get 2x and say, whatever, 30 days or whatever. We can't guarantee that, but we can guarantee you will get 2x eventually. And in these miners, you can choose to collect at any point in time. Like this one has a 1.68x return already, and just on DevNet. You can either, from a 200 million say deposit, you can collect it, or you can compound it and take your earnings and compound them in the future to increase your ROI overall. So these are options that we will have available. And I'll do a video on this later on, showing how all these things work, how you can compound your earnings and continue to earn more and more Pulse every day. And so these type of things here, like I said, different miners will have different things. So like this miner here has a 0.8x. It hadn't quite hit its its initial deposit. But people may choose to exit out if, say, the price of Pulse goes up, say 2x. Then you made money. So these are just tools we're building right now. We're about to go to market with from True DeFi, and what we're doing now is finishing our UI up, and we're having options. We've partnered with PulseChain, which is a launch pad. We're talking to them about helping us with our referrals and using their services for to do airdrops to certain protocols. So what we decide to do is we'll pick some protocols we'll partner with, and we'll give airdrops and use PulseChain's interface. You'll be able to get these airdrops and stake them. And part of the referral system we have, the referral bonuses will go to the stakers, 100% of it. So it'll give an incentive for people to come and use the protocols themselves. Let's say, for instance, Tetra. You give Tetra stakers this airdrop or Tetra holders, and so every holder of Tetra will get something they can stake and earn yield if they participate in the referral program. So this just helps further incentivizes it. And at the end of the day, we still haven't sold anything to anybody. These are just free airdrops. True DeFi is a service tool. We're not trying to sell you a token. It's just a tool to use to double your pulse. And eventually we'll go out and double your PulseX, maybe your ink. And the sky's the limit from there. So that's what we're doing here. And this is, in these type of programs, we typically, the first initial push, we usually see a pretty quick 2x. We're expecting like 2 weeks or less, maybe 3 weeks at the most. And then after that, it's based upon user participation and excitement, stuff like that. So we encourage people to come take a look at it. I mean, we're doing our best to provide services for the community, so everybody can participate and earn some tokens and increase their positions while you have a chance. Because, like we said, now's the time to stack. Prices are down. I mean, prices aren't. We've pretty much hit the bottom, all-time low, so we're not going much further. So, I mean, what do you have to lose but to double your pulse?
That's one thing I was going to say earlier too about that whole notion was. When you're at the lows, well, not only are you at the lows, but like the fact that the floor is not going to fall out, I think that's like the big part that just the community might feel uneasy about, is like that no one kind of that unease of like, is the floor going to fall out on PulseChain price? Because if it felt like what happened with the SEC crash last year, that's not a comfortable feeling when you can see the entire chain get decimated like that. But that's what I think is good to know, is like, how do you know this chain, the floor isn't going to fall out on the chain right now? And a lot of it comes down to the price action we're seeing right now. It's definitely like your sellers are very exhausted. You could see that for months now, the price action is declining at a decreasing rate, meaning that it's starting to stabilize and go baseline and just kind of round out. And that's the kind of action you want to see. And inside of like the micro time frames on like the hourly and stuff, I'm seeing like little miniature like falling wedges playing out and then breakouts. So there's definitely a battle going on between the bulls and the bears on the micro time frames right now. So there's enough evidence to suggest that like this is the bare bottom of the floor of the chain, and it's pretty much just sideways and then up from here.
Exactly. we saw the same thing. We were doing our analytics and stuff, because think about this as, if you 2x your tokens, you hedge against a 50% drop at least, right? So wherever you are in the market cycle in time, and in the future, if we go up 2x and we drop 50%, well, you still have basically buffered against that kind of loss in dollar terms, so to speak. But you're doubling your token count, because we don't care what the price is. It's just strictly token count. We're not doing it based upon the actual value of the token. So we're just trying to help people stack their units, and that's the point. So if you can stack units while the prices are low, now's the time to do it, because how much more benefit you get when the price action does happen, and what we just discussed about the upcoming bull cycle, how much better we could be off. And that's what we're hoping to achieve, and help hopefully aid the users and the people in the chain to stack their units and increase their positions. And shout out to PulseChain for helping us out with this, because they got a pretty good neat launch pad that's allowing us to not only launch these airdrops, but also stake them too through their protocol.
Neil, is there a link for a couple questions in chat? I just wanted to give them you have a link or estimated like Twitter or otherwise?
Yeah, it's let me drop it. Yeah, let me drop the main Telegram channel in chat, and then we'll have the
people can catch up in case they missed a piece.
Yes, yeah, they can come to our main chat. We'll explain everything. All right. Well, I'll put it in a private chat. You can do it then, Max.
Are you not a mod on this channel, Neil? I have to talk to my admin, my mod admin, to get them to add you someday. I'll do it real quick.
Yeah, you just
everyone
stuff
here
we're building, you know. Another thing too, we are Tetra's got the Signum update, the Teller Fork about to launch too, also, which we'll have our Oracle service available on PulseChain as well here next week or so. We'll be on a test net and then roll out the mainnet here pretty quickly. So that's exciting. If you're a developer and you need price feeds, it's something that we're trying to finish as well. So
super excited about that.
Yeah, we're busy here. We're doing the best we can, as fast as we can, given what we're working with, and just through the technical difficulties of development, to try to bring quality tools, products, and services to market through everything through Tetra and True DeFi.
Neil, write something in chat just real quick, just so I can right click you on there and add as mod. And then I was looking at the bridge real quick. By the way, the demo looks pretty cool, and interested to see what's coming out from it. Yes, mod me, perfect. So y'all can check out the Telegram and site. I'm sure follow Neil and stuff for updates and stuff is there. But I was looking at the bridge here. 26. So I just wrote just looking at transactions 10K or more. It looks pretty consistent. Like every hour, there's money coming across the bridge. I mean, according to this, right? Am I reading this correct? Inflow, outflow, value token, 10K. Is it inflow? Are these inflows or outflows? I can't tell.
Let me. I'm just on here for the first time. I never used this one before. I think the red is an outflow and the green is an inflow, I would think.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
because the columns here, it was messing me up for a second. Okay.
So I mean, you could basically filter this down, and let's just see what ignore the small transactions. Hex19.eth, you have been spied on. You've been caught 1 hour ago sending $12,000 off the chain. What are you doing? Just kidding, poor guy.
But 0xethics.eth has taken 156K across the bridge into PulseChain, it appears. So
that 0xethics account, actually, that guy is in and out all the time with like 100 to 200K bags. So just some sort of, I think people were speculating they're doing some kind of an arbitrage play.
Well, just gonna bump it up
Oh
here
yeah,
to
I mean,
100K.
it's very interesting when you get in these back rooms and you start hearing or talking to people that are doing the research about, people that are moving capital around and like notorious wallets for doing certain kinds of actions. That's fun stuff.
I'm just going to pop it up to 1 million just for curiosity. Let's see. So 1 million in ETH. Okay, we haven't seen over 1 million come in at one time, at least for a couple months, and that was 13 million came in. Looks like, wow.
Hey, do you guys remember when we first launched? Didn't we have like millions coming in? I can't remember. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Well, let me go to the last.
There was a traffic jam to get in. You couldn't get in fast enough. Remember, because people trying to get in and buy the ink and stuff. I remember, and that's when the ink shot to $70. I mean, it was hilarious.
I know the guy that did that. It wasn't me.
$2 million in DAI, $1 million in wrapped ETH, $1 million USD, $1 million in HEX, $1 million in wrapped ETH. Those were the first 5 transactions, according to this, over $1 million coming into PulseChain. And then we had some coming out as well. But wow, pretty cool. I do like the site. I've not used the site enough either. No.
I'm definitely going to start using it more often. So thanks for making me aware or reminding me.
Of course. What do you just what do we want to wrap up on? Maybe even another 15 minutes or so. What's interesting? PulseChain ecosystem. Yeah, we haven't did TA. You want to get into TA? Talk about that.
We can.
Anything interesting going on there?
Yeah, there's some interesting things going on. One of the things is like the again, I was talking about it earlier, the wrapped ETH. Well, if you just looking across the ratio, so the wrapped ETH wrap pulse ratio is we're gaining on it. So what did I say? It was up 12.9% over 80 days. And then the dynamic between PulseX and Ink and Pulse has been very interesting as it's been playing out. So I don't know if you know, but like the Ink price has been basically stable against Pulse for 150, 60 days or something like that by now. And but against PulseX, Ink is actually losing value. So because PulseX has been the darling for a few months now, and it's just been, you know, dominating. And I think it's partly in fact because the buy and burn has been so effective. And a lot of the, you know, faders like exited PulseX a while ago already at this point. And then HEX, honestly, like the Ink HEX ratio is interesting because it actually looks like there was just an inflection point where Ink is starting to lose value to HEX. And this kind of goes back to what I started the stream with about how HEX could potentially be ready to make a larger macro move against the entire RH ecosystem, basically. And that today we saw EHEX spike 10% with one candle. It was like $8,600 of volume came through on the EHEX wrap pulse pool. So that means that it was probably more because some of that had to have gotten routed through that EHEX hex pool, which is a little bit deeper. But that happened. And then HEX has just been going up week after week over PLS. So like if you click on that blue button up top where it says USD, yeah, flip that to the pulse ratio, and then you could look at that. That's awesome, dude. I mean, HEX is really gaining against pulse here. That's what you're looking for, is you're looking for signal in that. And yeah, what do you guys think about the ratios between the RH coins right now?
I mean, I keep an eye on the Ink Pulse ratio because I find it interesting. If you look at it, it's running sideways since almost into March, and it's only went up and down by a couple percent. It stayed within a certain range. I find that very telling, given Ink's got a lot of stability within its price. It's not necessarily dollar price action, but it's ratio action against Pulse. And that's what I've been using to gauge, and it's been actually a great swing trade. I've been using the automated swing trading tool with the compound limit orders with Omnis, and it's easy to make money with chopping in this 5 and 10% range.
Do you want to talk to that a little bit about, while everyone's like aching and moaning about price down, like the power users are out here earning more units every day, a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so with tools like the compound limit orders, it's an automated swing trade. So if you can pull up the Ink Pulse, or I can share my screen again, I guess it's just a deck screener. I can show you really quickly. Let me see here. So I'm going to zoom in on this. So you see this action here? This is since toward into March. It's been running almost dead sideways. So if you've been buying and selling in this range, and you can see I had already kind of done this. You can set up a compound limit order using Omnis, and you could be buying and selling and increasing your units on either both Pulse or Ink on both sides. And so you just set up, let's say, two different compound limit orders, and when one goes one way, you're getting one side units. When it goes the other way, you get another set of units. And you keep doing that over and over again because it's running pretty regularly. Every couple weeks, you get a swing up and swing down, swing up, swing down. And you can kind of see my little chart here. I just did just to see anywhere from around 49 to 55,000 units. And it's really easy to work these ratios because all crypto is a ratio game anyway. If you understand that, you can stack units without even trying.
Mm-hmm. Nice. What do you think, Max? Do you do any of this stuff, or do you pretty much just stake HEX?
I mean, I do like staking HEX. However, especially when Omnis first came out, just the limit orders, switching the computer for a second, just the limit orders themselves to be across the decks and stuff too. I know some other products on PulseChain have 9-inch and so on. But I think this was just pretty cool to be like, hey, if you just want it, like DCA, kind of like a DCA, I'll say DCA tool because it makes you think of 9-inch too. But like a DCA a way to, you know, if you want to get a better ratio on Pulse versus PulseX, or get Pulse when it dips, or otherwise. That's what I thought was pretty cool. And just the UI and way of making that easy for, it's like an advanced concept, but easy for users to use. I think that's pretty cool. So that part, and then the compound limit orders, again, takes it to the next level of like automatically, and Neil can speak this to, buying and selling type, not just automatically buying, for example, or making a trade, but automatically, like you could do 2 trades right now. Like you can do like two trades based on certain conditions.
Correct.
Which is, so you don't have to
go
come back and be like
token A to token B, back to token A, or token A to token B to even token C. Let's say you're looking at it, and like you mentioned, access that the Inc Pulse X ratio. Well, if you can start from Pulse, go to Inc, maybe go to PulseX, when it really gets in your favor, you can really stack more PulseX units based upon its movement in regards to Inc. So it's something you can do a little TA on and kind of calculate and see where the things are trending, and probably make some pretty decent predictions and use these compound limit orders to really stack units. And it's so much liquidity, you can do a lot at a time. You're not limited to, let's say, just $100. You can do thousands of dollars at a time because there's plenty of liquidity in the pools.
Yeah. Chris, you want to add anything to that?
No, I'm glad that you brought this up, Neil. I don't know if you saw in the chat, I had asked about this a couple of days ago, and I saw somebody posted a video up, but I hadn't gone and watched it yet. So I'm trying to get my head around how I would use compound limit orders myself.
Well, I have a video I did explaining how the mechanics work with slippage and all that stuff, because it does play a part in it, because we don't have an order book. On the slippage that we use is because it's a live dynamic feed, so you got to kind of think about that when you set your, especially on high volatile assets. Now, things like Pulse and PulseX, it's not as big of a deal because it's a lot of liquidity. It's not moving violently one way or the other, unless like Richard dumps some money or something, right? But typically it runs pretty normally in a certain pace, and you can usually get your orders filled without a whole lot of trouble. But there's a stop loss feature too as well.
Yeah, I like that part. I saw that. So what would my use case be for this right now? I'm already in Pulse, so I'm not bringing new money in, so I'm not really caring as much about the USD. So I've got so my use case is I've got Pulse, and I want to DCA into HEX every time, goes within a range that I like. So that would be the kind of the way I would do it, probably. Be looking to expand, maybe both sides, right? But certainly expand the number of HEX that I have.
If you start with HEX, get the Pulse and go back to HEX, increase your HEX units. That's how you do it. So take your HEX, put it to work. And if you end up with Pulse and you stuck in Pulse for a while, oh, whoop-de-doo, poor baby, right? Is that really a bad thing? Until price moves again, then you get more HEX, and then you can stake that earned HEX and then set up for 5, right? And you keep doing it over and over again. If you want like a bunch of whatever size, it depends on the size of your bag, obviously. That's just ways to really use the tools in DeFi to really set up even further ladders or Quattro Cinco stakes indefinitely by using these tools without having to spend any new capital doing so.
I think that's the key component there, guys out there. Like a lot of the Hexicans are really fortunate, and the guys that have been working hard on PulseChain for the last year, they're taking the house money that they're making using different strategies, and then it's free rolls for them, so they can go and throw out a hedged 5 stake and know that thing's going to print 5 to 6x more HEX at a minimum, and as long as the price is stable or higher, they're going to make 5 to 6x on their money. And when you're not putting any input capital into that, you're just taking HEX off the market. You're doing the service to the market because you're removing HEX from the supply for 15 years. You're giving yourself, who does good behaviors, a bigger bag to protect the price in the future, and you're not having to put any input costs in to get there. So I think these like hybrid strategies are a really important piece of the metagame that's occurring right now on PulseChain, and I hope everyone is doing their best to like understand the game to the best of their ability. And if you want more help with that, like go seek help from people that offer services that can give you a boost to get you on the road faster.
Yeah, exactly. And the tools are there. And if you need help, you can come see us and we'll help you out with Tetra and stuff. It's kind of the reason we built True DeFi and the True 2X stuff too, to help people, increase their position without just bringing new capital in. So if you already got Pulse, and everybody has Pulse, go double it, right? Or PulseX or whatever eventually. and all these things. And then you can use a combination of tools. I mean, you may be in a 2FUX farms and take some yield and go put it, and then use a compound limit order to increase your position. Maybe you want more HEX or whatever, or more 2FUX, and then go and go stake it and earn your prom 2FUX and all these things. So there's a myriad of infinite number of possibilities to do things like this, using these tools to increase your positions without having to really bring fresh capital in, if you just use them in a very intelligent way. And we're all here to help. So just hit us up. We're in Telegram. Just if you got any questions, we're glad to help you.
Axis, going to do a quick TA heat check. See what's going on there.
ETH, sure. Just give me a second.
No, heat check. I mean, it could be ETH too, but just
heat check.
Pulse. Heat check. Heat check. Like what's the pulse? What's the pulse of the TAs?
Yeah, you want me to pull up my screen?
Yeah,
Calm, baby. Communis.
Yeah, calm. Good call. That thing is mooning, dude. Yeah, you can see my panel here. So this is a 4-hour chart. This is the PulseChain measured in dollars. So this is your base chart you're going to look at when you're looking at the PulseChain. This falling wedge printed from the 5th of August until the 12th, and then it bottomed. Triple, lower low, lower low, lower low, breakout, retest of that falling wedge resistance line, and then we pumped off that line, which was key. You needed to see that, and then we started moving up a little bit, and then we got some traders / sellers to come in here, and now this is where it's like a consolidation or a small bull flag inside of here. So all you have to do to measure where we're going from here, and these are like micro time frames, so they're not something that you're going to look at too often, but the target level is up here. It's going to break this larger descending resistance line here that goes back to the middle of last month. So, if we're lucky, we'll come up here, probably we get resistance, breakout, retest, and then we'll start to head sideways, maybe get some large player comes in and screws up the plan. Then we go back down. Maybe we double bottom at a higher low or something, and then by the end of September, I think we could expect Pulse is going to at least test some of these higher levels, like inside of here or here. And then if I zoom out more to a daily, this is really all that we're just looking at. It was way down in here. So this is where we're going. This is where we're at. This is generational buying opportunities down here at the bottom. And on the micro time frames, we're just kind of like working our way out. Just a little miniature fights, little battles that are happening on the smaller time frames. And these things take time. Just be patient and let this stuff kind of happen where the good money can absorb all the weak money's coins, and the traders can get flushed out. And then there'll be a big markup phase that comes that leaves the traders behind. That's Pulse. And then Pulse against ETH this was that chart I was talking about, where from that candle body close on the 29th of May till now, we're up 12.39% over 80 days. And it's a grind, man. It's not fun. This is a grind, but it is progress though. So it's progress for Pulse over ETH here. This is Pulse measured in ETH. And PulseX is, I'm calling for some downside in the PulseX ratio. I think PulseX is going to retrace a little bit here and come back and test the bottom of this lower trend line before working up its way up to the top of the channel. And eventually it's going to head to one to one.
Real quick, I still see W wrap pulse and die on the screen.
Let me, because I just shared a tab. 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry, you missed out the other chart too.
Yes. Thought you were still drawing lines on the same one for a moment.
So this is that chart. This is that chart from the candle, but this is the wrap pulse wrapped ETH chart. It's up 12% in 80 days. And so guys, that's what I was saying when I'm saying it's a grind. It really is, but it is progress though for the pulse price over ETH. So that's good that it's creating a base. And it's much more stable now than it was back here in the SEC crash last year and all that aftermath. Like it's much more stable now, as you can see, just slowly making better pricing against wrapped ETH. And then here, this was the PulseX chart. I was just showing you the ratio of PulseX to Pulse. Looking for this to come back and test the bottom trend line here at some point, and then we'll work our way up to the upside. And ultimately, I think PulseX is headed for parity sometime in the cycle. Not sure when, but I think that's the inevitability just based on the tokenomics of the coin, being it that it's more scarce every day, and that's not necessarily true for Pulse. Although both will be valuable, PulseX is going to overperform from here.
Yeah, I'm shocked we're this soon in the cycle of just being around as PulseX has closed this gap this fast. To be honest with you, because I was really expecting it to hold around a 3-to-1 ratio for a lot longer, just because of the chain being what it is. Because when I was doing my analysis earlier on, I was using the ratios. I was doing pretty well ratio trading between the two. And then it got closer and closer. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It's not breaking out to the 3-to-1. It was like what 4.5-to-1 at one time.
Yep, down here.
So I remember that. So it's very. I'm happy it's doing it, but I'm surprised it's this soon. Actually,
and then like your honesty of being surprised is good, because that's how the market feels right now. You could tell the market's surprised because they all got messed up and left behind down here. And it's just continued to grind higher and higher. And so a lot of people are becoming offsides on that PulseX trade. It's not completely out of hand yet because you're still at the 50% line to back to parity with Pulse. But yeah, definitely the market's feeling a little bit of pain. And I bet you that this dip, if it comes, it's going to get snapped up quick.
Mm. Yeah, right now it's a 1 to 1.84 ratio. So PulseX, yeah, that's something else. I'm glad. I mean, I've been stacking this whole time, but it's still it's interesting to see this.
Yep. And then go ahead, Chris.
I was going to ask, were you on daily or
this is a 3-day?
3-day. Yeah. I'm just looking because we talk about this a lot, so other people might be interested in this. I'm just looking at the farm activity in my head about what would happen. So prior to the 18th, a lot of people who went into the farms probably did pretty well the 18th of May, way back when, because they would have swapped Pulse probably for PulseX, gone into the farm and just kind of been living this whole thing throughout this period of time. Just trying to get my head around whether it would have been a good thing or a bad thing,
Yeah, you'd be you're talking about the PulseX pair?
Yeah.
You would have earning more and more units of PLS all this time. But your ink rewards are definitely substantially less than on some of the other pools.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because just the sheer amount of participation in that.
That's right. Yeah. Just the last couple charts that we'll show that I'm interested in is this is the one that Neil was showing you. That's that ink to pulse ratio. So this has been a very enjoyable range to be farming in because the impermanent loss has been mostly mitigated just because it's been pretty flat. I think the reason why this price action played out in this way is because it's been easy for the market makers to absorb up fresh ink supply as it's come due and keep it in this range, which means that there's inevitably a big supply squeeze coming at the end of this, probably at the 3/4. So somewhere in here is probably where we're going to see, maybe at end of October, we'll see this thing break out. So I'll leave this arbitrary level right here, and we'll see if we can. Usually these break at 3/4 to the apex, so we'll maybe somewhere out here beginning of November-ish. We'll see a breakout to the upside. So farming you're still safe to farm for now. And then this is that crazy ass ink PulseX ratio where PulseX ink is losing value to PulseX, so it's down 36%. Which doesn't seem like a lot. And it really isn't going to hurt you too bad in the farms. The impermanent loss is actually less in some cases than the Pulse ink farm. But, there's definitely concern. Like if these levels were to break, I mean, you're basically in free fall where this would basically imply PulseX is going to go on a ripper on its own and you'd lose 33% of the value. That's not what I see happening. I don't think PulseX is just going to randomly go off and pop off and ink and Pulse are just going to stay the same. So I think what's going to happen here is it's actually going to reverse back to the upside and even things out. And then ink versus HEX is officially closed candles below this pennant, and it looks like it's going to break down, meaning ink is about to lose value to HEX and probably in a big way, at least for the short term. And part of my reason for that is because here on the HEX to Pulse ratio, it's made a higher low. It's held the 786 fib level as support, and now it's grinding upwardsly again. And this is like a kind of a W pattern. And this isn't like really volatile. This is like an extended period of time. Like this W pattern is formed over a 63-day period with $21 million of volume. So this is a substantial move. Falling wedge, clean breakout, rejection off the 0.5 fib, retest of the 786, wick low, lower low, higher low, inverse head and shoulders, neckline broke. It's going to go up. It's going to hit the 786 quickly, and then, which is about an 8.5% move against Pulse, and then it could go as high as up here, like 40% higher, up to like 186 Pulse per hex. So hex looks actually the best to me right now. And then here's EHEX with that big buy that came in today. A little more of a riskier play, but definitely still interesting nonetheless. And here it is against, instead of the dollar, here it is against the pulse ratio. So it's at that edge of it's the line in the sand basically. This is a rejection level that EHEX needs to get above. So it's been range bound in here. What it needs to do is it needs to break out, retest. You could even grind line and it could go, but we need to get out here. Otherwise, this thing's going to come back down, create a descending triangle, and break down again to the lows. So EHEX is a little more precarious. We always have that looming over of, certain actors that could or could not dump at any time. So be aware of that as well. Any thoughts on the RH coins before I move on to just a few of my picks?
Go for it.
Communis. This is the Communis chart. Communis is a derivative of HEX. It's done crazy numbers already in its life. So I'm viewing it here against Pulse. It did a 33,000% move against Pulse. And it since the local high here back in October, it had retraced like 90+%. Now and then it bottomed out here. Okay, so let me just give you a play-by-play here. So from that local high to the wick low, it did a minus 99%, but this was instantly bought back up. And so for all intents and purposes, we could say that, yeah, there's a couple lucky guys that caught that wick, but it did fall 92%. And then it ripped up 377% against Pulse. And then it broke down 86 or so percent here. 82%. And now since it bottomed here, you had a nice clean rounded bottom with some accumulation and then a breakout and a break of resistance, and it's light as a feather now. So this thing is going to go a lot higher in price. And this is, you talk about ratio trading or swing trading, Communis is giving you so much opportunity that I feel bad for your son if you're not a quad father yet. There's only like 24 people that have more than a quadrillion of these things. Currently that's what 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. What is it? Yeah, so it's $16,000
for quad ain't one.
That's right. Hit me.
Just thought about that. Yeah. Jay-Z. Shout out to Jay-Z, by the way.
So, where I think this thing's going is like up here. I think it's going to repeat. I think it's going to do like a 200 to 300x against Pulse this cycle from here. So there's still opportunity in this chart. It's ambitious, but I also have done a lot of research on the holder base, and I think it can go a lot higher. So COM is a HEX derivative. The only way you get it, mint new COM, is from staking HEX, and staking HEX long. Like 5.555s get the most, and when you start going less than 10 years, you don't really get any meaningful amount. So it's basically a commitment-based system that ensures that long-term stakers are able to capture T-shares in a tokenized form and use that as a magnet to drag the HEX price up with it. It's definitely not something for the faint of heart. You definitely, if you want to know how the tokenomics work, you're gonna have to do some studying on that. There's plenty of like video content out there, and Crispy's actually doing a AMA next. Was it Monday? I think you're doing it.
Yeah, Monday we're gonna do an AMA on it.
Yeah, so if you want to know more about COM and see why it's possible that this thing goes and does a 200x from here, go check out Crispy's stream next Monday on his channel. A couple other ones. I like PTGC against Pulse just because this coin is an interesting coin that's got an infinitely growing liquidity base due to the tax tokenomics of the coin. It's married to the PulseX DEX. And if you could almost compare this to the WISE token on Ethereum, where it just built up this massive, it got like a forever locked and burned LP pool, and that WISE pool, WISE versus ETH, is worth like over $100 million now. This thing has potentially got the power to build up a liquidity base in a similar way. If Pulse goes and does 100x, PTGC's liquidity pools will do 100x. And and right now it's got about 334K here against PLS. So do 100x on those numbers, and you're talking about multiple tens of millions of dollars of liquidity going to be back in this project over the long term. If you want to know more about that, go check out Prairie Bananas videos. He's a really big champion of this one, or go check out TG Zen on Twitter. And let's see. I think PDI has been interesting. It hit its lows here. The notorious billionaire PDI holder Herman stopped dumping his bags, and so this has made a quick recovery with lots of volume. And PDI narrative's here to stay, whether you like it or not. I'm a holder. I think it's got a lot of potential to have big swings, and that's what I like to see, is big swings in volumes and volatility. So keep your eye on PDI. It's also got a huge burnt liquidity web too to back the price. That's the major ones. I mean, of course, I'm a huge champion of my own token. I think it's got a lot of potential in the solid index as well. And then last but not least is 2FUX, which is a rewards emissions token for the 2FUX exchange. Currently, 2FUX has over 71% of all the voting power, which means that 2.5x whale bonus is distributed to 2FUX holders. Said another way, if you like a lot of high yield and you hold the tokens that are gauged on Fox.io, you can go provide liquidity on Fox.io and take your coin, your LP token, over to 2FUX and stake it for up to 2.5x bonus yield. Because of all these dynamics and this infrastructure that's been built out, the 2FUX token is currently being accumulated clearly, and it's up 74% over 27 days off its lows. But when you zoom out compared to where it's been, it's still relatively in value. I mean, you're way down here at like minus 57%. So definitely a huge proponent of this token. I think it's got a bright future.
Yeah, I can attest to 2FUX's power. I'm enjoying it, and I love it.
Awesome. Yep. It's good to hear. Yeah, and so lots of different projects benefit from a protocol like this succeeding.
All right, gents. Any other thing before we wrap it up here? That was a blazing, very informative TA corner. I like that. The TA Prime, call it TA Prime today. I like it.
Stakes and HEX, baby.
Yeah, stakes and HEX. That's a rally call that I'm looking forward to hearing. Hopefully, even more the next 6 months to a year. That's the question I want to drop off with too. And circling back to rocket ships and all that stuff. January 2025. We'll start with Neil. Go down. January 2025. We higher or lower than today, Neil?
Oh, we're higher.
Higher.
How much I don't know, but we're higher.
30 second explanation of why you think that.
I think we're higher only because we are at our lows now. I'm not going to go much lower. I think the TA proves that or shows that as we look at the analysis, and I think Axis has really done a good job at giving us the confidence that we're not going to drop much lower than if we do. It's just going to be a local wick or something.
Yeah. Higher.
Axis, same thing.
Yeah,
higher. Next.
Yeah, higher. And then I think, what happens after October with an alt season potentially coming in. CZ gets out of jail September 29th. Alt season starts. The stablecoin minting mania starts. The on-chain liquidity 100x's over a year and a half. Yeah, January is going to be a good time to be in cryptocurrency if you're in alts.
Crispy, what do you think?
I think we'll definitely be higher, but maybe not. But I think on the road to getting there, we might actually see that pre-end of the year pump, and then as we're going to have to deal with some sort of profit taking / loss harvesting. That's going to take place at the end, but yeah, I think we'll be primed and ready to go by mid-January to just kind of watch things go to rocket ship mode myself. But
yes, I hope
we'll
that all the opinions, all the predictions, all the manifestations of Rocketship do occur. And it's came up Richard's tweet too of maybe it's just around the corner. Boy, that would be awesome. Boy, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of timing and just what the magnitude's going to be, right, of everything. And really, that's where everybody listening can really play a part. A little bit in the timing, but more of the magnitude. See, the more people hear about PulseChain and have their eyes open when they see the green candles, the more they will come into the chain, the higher the pump, right? So getting the word
Pump the
out
chain
is
up.
real important.
Pump
You've
those
got
numbers
to
up.
pump
You need
it up.
50K. Got to
Pump
pump
it
it
up.
up. Got to
Pump
pump
it.
it up. You need to get 50K daily active users.
Use
Hey,
two
do
hands. Okay. I like that.
Gotta pump it up. All right, everyone. Are you not entertained? Neil for T-shares, Axis for T-shares, Crispy Man, HEXFire.io. Neil, start with you. Where can people find more about your content? I know, again, everyone do your own research. You know, all the stuff we talk about here. I've talked about Tetra a lot and stuff before as well. It sounds like Neil's going to have some video on true DeFi coming up as well, so you can learn some more information, dig into that. But Neil, where can people find more information about you and projects you're involved with?
Sure. Yeah. I'm at Work for Crypto on Telegrams. You just come see me in either Tetra Labs or True DeFi Chat. And I'm have a YouTube channel. I'll be posting videos at Work for Crypto on YouTube. So, or Neil for T-shares, search for it. And so I'll have all my stuff there. Any questions, just hit me up. I accept DMs. I mean, I get them all the time. People asking questions. So feel free to contact me.
Excited for all the builders and people, you know, building on the ecosystem, and hopefully lots of successful new projects and all the projects all together that have been depressed for one reason or another. Hopefully there will be rocket shipping any moment, imminent. I don't know, not imminent maybe, but who knows? Axis for T-shares. It cracks me up when I see it.
That's right.
Axis T-shares.
Go check me out on x.com/axisalive or youtube.com/axisalive. There's some pretty good video content from the last 5 or so days that I highly recommend you guys go check out. So thanks everyone for tuning in to RHMax, and appreciate the guys that have joined me on the panel today.
Max for T-shares. Prime TA with Max for T-shares. I like it. Crispy Man, what's happening?
I meant to change my name to Crispy for T-shares, but
I think we all should at this point.
I just switched back.
Hey,
you guys are late.
Too late. I don't even know where you're. I don't even know where you're switching. I didn't look for it. So, hey, HEXFire.io. If you want to go see the charts they have up there that are public charts, HEXFire.io here in YouTube, and then also up on the old X. Don't join my group, but if you are interested in joining the group, go over to the website HEXFire.io. And you can go read all about it. I've got lots of charts and data and stuff in the background for those people who are worthy of that kind of information. Want to see it?
Worthy for T-shares. I like it.
Worthy T-shirts.
Quick question. I wanted to address real quick. First thing, when I see this, I think is HEX on Ethereum dead? I mean, it's kind of. I feel like a lot of it's been on that. So. Got to know from Crispy. Any yeses on the panel?
No, not dead.
I hate the ETH side for the derivatives. All of them, Altcom, Ehedron, and Icosa.
You have to wait for the Icosa stuff. You got to wait for Alex, man.
Yeah, I know.
That's the big.
We've been waiting. You know,
I know.
We've been
He's
waiting.
working on
for
it.
Alex. Gotta wait for Alex.
He's getting close.
Who knows? You know, I'm down bad on my Ehedron bags, so I just wait. I'm not dumping it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I should say that. I mean, I answer pretty quickly that Icosa is not dead, but that's because I'm holding on my Icosa. I never got rid of it. In fact, I got more of it. Right, so I'm holding.
Yep. All right, everyone. That's all we got for you today. Scivive 5555. We are out.
Yeah.
Okay.